Hi everyone, it's Matt from The Pen Habit. Glad to be back, as I always am, for another video. And today we're going to do a review of what has catapulted its way to the very top of my favorite pens list. Now I know I seem to have a new favorite pen every third video I do. I'm fickle like that. That's just kind of the way I am. I suspect, however, that this pen is going to stay at the top of my favorites list for quite a while. Now, I suppose it will probably not come let's try that again. I suppose it will not come as much of a surprise. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. As much of a surprise to anyone that this is the box that my new favorite pen came in. I adore Visconti pens. I adore Italian pens in general. This one, though, is something special. The pen in question is the Visconti Divina Blue Elegance. And this is the box comes in. Inside the box, there is this leatherish case, little drawer that pops out that has a booklet in it with Visconti stuff, that most of which I'll never be able to afford. And then you open it up and there's the pen lays in here. Now, obviously, I have used this pen for a good while, so it is not really necessary for me to walk you through this. But this is the pen. This is the Divina Blue Elegance by Visconti. And let me just say that this is not just a pen. This is honestly and truly a work of art. I have to say, I believe this is quite possibly the single most beautiful pen I have ever laid my eyes on, held in my hands, written with. And to top it all off, the fact that it is a phenomenal writing instrument only makes this pen all that more enjoyable to use. I just really, really like this pen. So it is acrylic. It's a lovely blue acrylic with kind of dark black and swirls of pearlescence. It is, as you can tell from the reflection of the lights and microphones and cameras in the pen, it is just polished to a perfect sheen. It's a pentagonal pen, and these silver inlays mark the line of the pen, each of the corners. And you've heard this if you've watched any other reviews or read any of the marketing material. The mathematics that were used to determine this line and how it lays out on the pen were calculated using the divine proportion, which is it is supposed to be kind of, the perfect number. Nautilus shells use this number for their design, and it's found all over nature. This is, they call it the divine proportion, ergo the Divina. Silver plated clip that says Visconti there. Top of the pen has the little silver plated medallion. This will come off. It's magnetized, so you can use a little magnet to pull it out and replace it with another medallion from the My Visconti system. It uses the hook and latch system to open and close the pen, which I really like. It's probably my favorite method of capping a pen. And then another thing that makes this pen unique, besides the fact that it's just a stunning piece of art, is the filling system. Now, this is essentially they call it I forget the term they use, but like a collapsing piston or something like that. It's actually a captured converter, I believe. Basically, there's a converter inside the pen, and you access it by pulling this little knob out, and then you can twist and untwist like you would a piston knob. And even the design on the knob, you've got the Visconti V there, and it gives you instructions on the top. You probably can't see them in this photo because of the lights, but it says pull, and then it tells you to fill or empty that way. And then once it's full, you just push it right back in. Now, Dan Smith, when he did his review of this pen, mentioned that his knob won't stay up. I did not have that problem with this pen for me. When I pulled it out, it stayed there as I filled and emptied the pen, so I didn't have any issues with that myself. The nib is a 23 karat palladium nib. Again, in this, I actually don't know what it's plated with, but it's palladium nib, silver colored. It's medium. This one is. It says Visconti, and then it says 23K palladium 950, which means 95% palladium. And then Firenze. Got the plastic feed here. And all in all, this is a beautiful, 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 beautiful pen. But despite that, it is an even better writer than it is a pen. So I'll do a writing sample, but it's also a very big pen. So I wanted to show you a few comparisons here. So this is the Divina, a Mont Blanc 149, a Pelican M805, Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Age, an Edison Collier, they all slid down here, and a fairly new pen to my collection, the Ranga Ebonite Model 3 Oversize. So you can see that capped, the Divina is still the longest pen out of all of these. Well, I guess the Divina and the Collier are about the same size. They're all pretty close to the same size with the exception of the 805. But these are big, honking pens. And I love me some big pens. I've said that before. But just the beauty of the Divina makes this one right up there at the top of the list for me. It's a killer pen. So let's do a little bit of writing here. This is the Visconti Divina Blue Elegance. And it also comes in a lovely brown color as well. So if blue's not your color, then the brown may work better for you. The ink is my favorite blue ink of all time. It is the Pelican Edelstein Topaz. I love this blue ink. It's the perfect shade of deep royal blue. Wonderful shading. On the right paper, it's got this killer red sheen. I adore this. Blues are not my favorite inks, but when it comes to blue inks, I don't think there's a better blue ink out there than Pelican Edelstein Topaz. And the paper is Rhodia. Nice 80 GSM dot pad. Oh, and as I mentioned, a 23 karat palladium nib in medium. Okay, push this up a bit. Now to our quote. Apologies for the noise outside. It is a busy time of day and there seems to be a lot more traffic than there usually is. So that's where all the road noise is coming from. So you can see here just a really, really lovely, no skips, no hard starts, nice ink flow, smooth, one of the best nibs in my collection. Easily one of the best nibs in my collection. One thing I did want to mention, actually, before we go on, I forgot to give the stats. So let me do that really quickly. So the pen just the pen itself inked is 26 grams. Cap is 16 grams. So together that's 44. If the pen is capped, you're looking at a very long 154 millimeters. It's 132 without the cap and 180, a ridiculous 180 in my opinion, if it is posted. Now, you will notice that when it's posted, the silver inlays line up, which is a neat trick, but it's too long when posted this way. just too long. I don't post this pen. In terms of width, we are looking at a 14 millimeter width on the barrel, a 16.4 millimeter width on the cap, and right smack dab in the middle of the section, you're looking at 11.3 millimeters. So it is a little bit wider than an average pen, but not as wide as, say, a Mont Blanc 149 or a Sailor King of Pen, that sort of thing. All right, so back to the writing sample, now that I have remembered the things I forgot. In terms of wetness, it is a wet pen. Nice solid wetness there. So much so, I mean, it's not overly juicy by any stretch of the imagination. The one thing I have noticed, though, is that this pen does tend to run out of ink quickly. And this is another thing that Dan Smith mentioned in his review, is that the pen runs out of ink quickly, which I suppose is okay. You know, you'd think with a pen with this much barrel space on the inside ought to hold more ink than it does. But it is what it is. I know that, you know, I'm going to probably have to refill this a little more often than I would like to otherwise, but that is really my only complaint with the pen. I love everything else about it. The grip is comfortable. The hook and latch feature down there doesn't bother me. It's beautiful to look at. It's nice and juicy. In terms of variation, the palladium nibs are a little bit soft, so you can see there's a little bit of springiness to the nib there. It gives a nice bounce to the writing. It's not flexible, and I'm not going to push it too terribly much because I don't want to mess up the alignment on this nib too much. But you can see it puts, when I do that, it puts out a whole lot of ink. So you want to get a little more extra shading, you can see, just put a little more ink down there and it works just fine. Other than that, man, I have to tell you, this pen is just something else. I could write with this pen all day long. It's a little toward the heavier end of the kind of the weight of a pen that I like to use, but it fits so nicely in my hand. It doesn't bother me at all. The nib is wonderful. I did do just a tiny bit of smoothing to it. It didn't really need the smoothing, but I just wanted to get it just really nice and glassy, which it has. Wonderful ink flow. You know, I have to say, my first experience with a Visconti pen was my Homo sapiens Bronze Age that I got about just a little under 2 years ago. And it was problematic. It was just pouring ink. And I've been hesitant to pick up another Visconti Palladium Dream Touch nib since then because it was such a train wreck. Well, it wasn't a train wreck. It was just way wetter than is usable. And this is perfect. It's juicy, but not overly so. It's smooth, but won't slip off the page by being so super smooth. All in all, it is a lovely nib. If we're looking at reverse writing or upside down writing, it will, very fine line. It's a little scratchy, particularly on the side to sides. Again, I don't ever do this. I put this in the video because people ask about it, but it's not something I have ever done with my pens, ever, other than in these reviews. So I just adore this pen. You can expect the Divina to make an appearance in the top 5 list that I will do at the end of season 2. If it isn't number 1, it will probably be number 2. It is just one of the most lovely pens I have ever used. I am thrilled to have it in my collection. I have not had it uninked since the day I got it a month and a half ago, which for me is unheard of. It's usually I use a pen once and I clean it out and I put it away for a couple months because I've got enough in my collection I want to get through. This one has been inked almost nonstop. I did clean it out once, let it dry a couple days, and then filled it up with the same ink. And I have not put any other ink in here besides the Edelstein Topaz because I just feel like it's such a perfect match with this pen. So that will do it for this review of the Visconti Divina Blue Elegance. In case you didn't get it, I like the pen a lot. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to head over to penhabit.com to take a look at the other photos, join the conversation over there, and we will see you here next time on The Pen Habit. Thank you for watching. To err is human, to forgive divine.